Hello, another assembly video on my Lotus Elan Series 2. It's getting close now. Hopefully you saw the engine start in the previous video. This time focusing on the door trims. These are parts for the door trim. This is the driver's side. We have a main piece of board. I'm using hardboard, which I think was the original. I've got some of the original pieces over there, although it definitely had, the trim had been changed, so whether the parts are super original, I'm not sure. This is the sort of bit that runs along the bottom of the door. It fixes to the inside of the bottom of the door, and it's got this metal piece which is a folded section. It's got a piece of wood glued to it. That's where the ashtray goes, and the two holes are where the door handle goes. And that screws this part, and I've used countersunk screws. And then you have this piece, the bigger piece, and this metal part, which has two tabs on the top, which have been welded on, spot welded on maybe. And those two tabs align themselves with the door handle, so I think the door handle screws down into those. And this fixes to this part. You'll see all the holes. But there is a spacer piece that goes between them. So when I took mine apart, it was a piece of hardboard, which I assume is correct. And that spacer is trapped between this plate and the main board to give a gap at the top into which slots this return on this metal part. So you'll notice there's no holes in that, and it's also not 90 degrees, it's slightly not so easy to see. There you go. It's not a 90 degree bend, that one, whereas this other one is. Okay, so that edge slots behind this. Let's put it together without any covering and see if I missed a part. There's also this chrome piece as well, which slots onto the top of the door. These are the originals. Oh, this is one of the originals. I had it re-chromed. It's a very tight bend, and you'll see if I show you the end what the section is like. So it is a tight bend to recreate, so they were good enough, I thought, to have them re-chromed. One of the ends, and you'll notice on the inside it's now black. I've put some black tape on it because this side was quite corroded. And I can't remember now whether there's supposed to be a brushed piece that runs against the window on there, which would disguise it anyway. So I was thinking it would be seen from the outside a bit, so, and it just looked scruffy because it wasn't a good finish. So I just put that on, so maybe that will come off anyway. This end is cut away, you will see. The other end is just cut at an angle, and so is this end. That end is also cut at an angle, but you'll see the inside flange return is removed at the end. Screwed this part on with the spacer, so there is a gap behind that plate. Let me see if I can zoom in. So there is a gap now. And the idea is this part slots behind that gap, and the holes for the handle fix the two together. It does seem to be at a weird angle. Maybe that's supposed to be like that. I look underneath, see that they definitely line up. But they will tend to hold it at that angle that the tabs are at, so maybe it's all supposed to put a bit of tension on the system and maybe tend to bow this part out. Not sure. The fixings for these, I've used these quite flat headed fixings. I think the originals in my stash of all the original nuts and bolts were like this. With quite a shallow head. So I'll have a go at just offering these parts up so you can see the principle. In the runners there are slots which this goes into. So that's in the slots, front and back, and on this part it's got these threaded inserts shoved into the door, so it's going to pick up on those, hopefully. So if I slot that over, just get a light so we can see. So screwed the handle on, so it's definitely fixed the two parts together. Can get that towel to line up at the back. There's another piece that goes on the front, so I need to get that as well. Forgotten about that part. This is the part that I hadn't shown you before. I'd forgotten about. It's fiberglass and it fixes on. There's 3 holes on here, and on the underside of this there are 3 holes which I've just started to drill. 2 of them larger and 1 smaller for some reason. These were the original fixings for the 2 larger ones, and I've no idea what the fixing was for the front one, so I'm just going to use a small nut and bolt. Those 3 holes align and put fixings on from the underside, so let me just get that fixed on and then I'll show you. I've fixed that on with the 3 screws, so you can see how it's the same width as the bottom part, and this little tab will get a hole through and it screws into the front edge of the door. So there it is fixed with those 3 screws. Oops. Right, so let's slot that on the door. Okay, so there it is in place. Just shine some light, might make it easier to see. It's in these grooves at the front and the back, and the holes in the wood seem to be aligning themselves with those fittings. So I'll get some screws through. It's a little handle, and on this part there's you might be able to see a witness mark where I've left sight for the hole, and that will align with there's one of these pushing threaded inserts underneath it, so that's looking good. And then I think the front edge is just open. I guess you never see it. Yeah, there's a slot in there which is just open. There is a groove shape runs in here. I think the idea is that water, there's a little tube drilled through, and a little hole drilled in the end, and a tube ran through the door. I'm not sure whether I'll put that back. It was a real bodge, so I may leave that. Anyway, let's see if the door closes when I've fixed this in place. So that's screwed on. yeah, you can see where the screws are, and there's one on the black plastic fiberglass part pulling it down. Seems to align, and I've popped on this strip on the top, so I think that's more or less it. So where I was saying it wasn't 90 degrees, yeah, it isn't. And if you look at the way the door is shaped, that angle, inside angle there, is definitely not 90 degrees. So it works out. I'll just show you. So I've got this piece bolted on now, and the hardboard covered in this vinyl. I discovered when I offered it up in the car that it was too thick to go in the channels when the material was wrapped around both sides, so I've trimmed it off, and I've even had to thin down the hardboard to get that to go in. I wouldn't have thought it was too thick. Anyway, there we go, that's what I've done, and at the top. So I've glued it on just along those edges, so that there was no glue behind the majority of it, just along these edges. For weather protection, I've varnished the back of these because it's hardboard, because there's really nothing to stop the rain from getting to the back of them. And this is the sort of armrest part, the lower part of the door trim. I've stuck some foam on the top, as you can see, and I've just trimmed around this foam, which is part of the vinyl trim, and you can see here the pan gets welded, heat welded through the foam on through the vinyl, so that part's going to make up an armrest. So I'm just trimming it around. I'm going to then I'm going to glue this back edge, and I'm going to glue the front edge to put it under a bit of tension first, and then I'm going to glue that edge up, but I will trim it all back and trim it into pieces so I can pull it around the corner, and then I'll do the top edge. So I'll do that first and show you what it's like. So I've trimmed it like that and got some glue on, as you can see. The reason I've done it like this is because you can stretch it and you can make it give you a very nice even curve if you do it in that way. The reason I've left this little bit, for example, is when I do that corner, I want to pull a piece around that corner so that it doesn't tear when it's in use. Okay, so I'll show you that when it's glued up. Got this end glued over now, so you can see sort of how I pulled it around. You get a nice even curve, and at this end I've got this bit ready to glue this end on, and this piece is going to pull around and again give me a nice even curve. So I've done it anyway, don't know how the professionals do it. So I've glued the bottom edge up now as well. So the idea next is to stretch this around and glue it onto the inside edge of this. So I need to trim this foam bit down and then stretch that round, and that'll glue right around. That's the next bit. So I have sort of rolled it round and pushed it down and pulled the material round and glued it on the inside. So we've got this effect now. Quite pleased. So this bit's got to pull around, tuck behind there. This bit's got to pull around, tuck behind there, and that corner's got to be super neat because it is on show. So I'll do that bit next, I think. So tidied up this end, which is okay, I think, and I've done the other end as well. So I can fix it to the other part and fix the plastic piece on, I think, now. So, and I'll mark all the holes through as well. There it is, screwed together. Put the ashtray in. Oh, it's not very good there. And the handle is the bit that screws it together. armrest to the rest of it through those screws. I put big long screws in so that it could pull it into that groove, and I also slackened off all those nuts so that it was easy to come in and then tighten it once it was slotted in. Let me show you that from the end. So the armrest piece slots into the bit that's fixed to the main panel. Okay, this is good. Varnished on the back again. I already told you, I think. I varnished it on the back to give it some weather protection. So that. Oh no, I've got to fix the plastic bit at the front. So let me get the plastic bit fixed in. Here it is. So these 3 holes fix on to the top of the arm. Whoops. So I'll punch the holes through from the bottom and get it screwed up. Got the fiberglass part fixed on the front with the 3 screws on the underside. So there it is. A weird assembly. Quite pleasing though. So I'll get it fitted in the car. It has to slot into these channels. One at the back front, one at the back, which I think we've already seen. So I'm going to have a go, see if I can get it to slot in place. But that went on really well, very pleased with that. So I'll get these screws in place and then I can show you more of the detail. So that's all those screws in, apart from the one that goes through the fiberglass piece at the front. So one screw at the top. So just make sure that sits in a little rubber well nut thing. Don't want to tighten that up too much, I don't think, so hopefully it closes. Lovely. So one piece to go, I think. I don't know. Which is here. This is the original, it's been re-chromed. A little bit bent. Hopefully it's going to go on. I've put, so that should just push on just. Should go on there. That's the position. Whether it will push it down. I might have to encourage it with a block or something. I don't know. I wasn't sure whether I'd need to glue it on. Okay. Well, that's the look anyway. It might need a little bit of knocking down just to make sure it's secure. We'll just have a closer look. There you go. So that's whacked on. That's screwed in place. That's where the fixing screw goes down. A bit dark to see it properly, but you get the idea. Hopefully. You can see this trim doesn't quite meet there. You can see where the panel is inside. It's all a bit. I mean, that is the way it was. Is the way it was. Funny English. You see a bit of the blue through there. It sort of sticks out a bit, but I think that's pretty correct. And we've got the, let's see if we can get a bit more light over there. Might be too much light. But we've got the passenger side undone. So there you are. Truth is out now. I'd already had a go at the other side. So if you thought I was looking rather proficient at doing it all, that's because I practiced on that side. So I think we should get in, see what it's like when you're sat in the car. I don't know how this will work. Just touch that light off. So we've got a little pull handle. That wasn't enough. Open it again. That's the internal door handle. A bit more of a slam. That closed. Yeah, don't like to slam it really, as you can imagine, after all that effort. Let's get the light on again. So that's how the sort of trim lines up with the dashboard surround. I need to, I have to tidy up the corners of the dashboard here, because they had holes in and I've filled them with filler. I've got to paint them black somehow, but they align with this. I have to say it's neater on the passenger side. Works. Well, the hole's not neater, that still needs filling, but the alignment of that part seems better on that side. And I've got a little armrest. Got my arm on. Lovely. It's marvellous. So pretty chuffed, I would say. So then I use these door handles. There we are. Even got an ashtray, not that I'll ever use it. Might hide something in it perhaps, it flips open. That's the original. The original's a bit rusty inside. It just pushes in the hole, by the way, there's nothing to fix it. Great, lovely, lovely, it's coming on.